I moved 2 years ago at 23 from Germany to Nairobi in Kenya, and in this video today I will share you how this move has changed me. So when I was still living in Germany in my early 20s, I was working, I was learning a lot, I was very hungry to do more things, and I was actually spending a lot of time at work. We had a family business luckily, so I could focus on this and was already like my own boss, could decide what I wanted to do, but I was still hustling a lot to learn and to get better at the things I did. And this time I was mainly focused on working in e-commerce. I enjoyed doing this, I enjoyed learning a lot, but people still had expectations for me. People were like, hey, you don't want to go to university, you don't want to study, you don't want to do an apprenticeship, you don't want to do this and that, and here's a good job you could take on. I was like, no, I don't want all of these things, but I was also not aware of exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I enjoyed doing this, but I felt at some point that I needed a change. And I felt like the change was a change of environment, not just a change in work, not just a change in the city. I needed a big change for myself to find myself and figure out what I actually wanted to do. And because I knew I didn't want to go the regular way and what people expected from me, that's also why I decided never to go to university. I never even thought of going to university, but I was still hungry enough to make things work just through learning the things I am doing today. In the time I was working in e-commerce, I was just teaching everything myself and there was no one to teach me. And I still managed for our business to grow it like a lot and like getting a lot of sales in and like learning how to improve things myself, how to structure things, how to run ads. So I was just learning and learning and learning. I saw that this value, these lessons and this time I spent on working and learning things and actually doing things was far more valuable for me than everything else I could have done that people wanted me to do. And because I was like that in that time, I was just very hungry to learn new things and focus on like growing the business. I invested like 60, 70, 80 hours with like work days where I sometimes went home at 4 a.m. in the morning. But also investing this much time gave me the flexibility because the team saw what I was putting in, what I was getting out for us, that I also could start traveling like a lot. So in 2022, I was just traveling, I think, to over 10 or 11 countries in this single year and was gone from work maybe for around 4 or 5 months, but still working, of course, on the way. And this helped me to figure out that I want to change my environment completely. Even if I enjoyed what I was doing, I felt like this is not the right place to be for me at this time. And I'm very happy that I went through all of this, that I like invested so much time, that I just got more confidence in myself and the skills I have, because I could say that I did all of these things. So I was just more like a more confident person. I could stand more on my feet because I was like, I know how some of these things at least work, and I can make different things work as well if I really wanted to, even if I don't know anything about this. At some point, I think it was in 2021 when I made the decision that I wanted to move to Kenya, and when I started planning and I actually hit the ground at some point in 2023 January, I knew that I can take over everything. Even if I was still quite a bit of a shy person, I was kind of confident in the skills I have, but I knew that there's so much more that I don't know yet, that I'm ready to take on now and develop myself further, grow further, meet more people to get the knowledge in that I needed to succeed eventually. And why this was especially important for me was, as a young person in the age of 23, I'm just not 25, so there's not much difference, but I feel like in the last 2 years, I grew so much because I stepped out of my comfort zone like as far as I could by moving to a different continent, different country where life is different, where people are different, where doing business is very different, where basically the whole environment of things change. You have to make a big step out of your comfort zone to get to know new people, to start new conversations with like people you have never talked to before. So this was the biggest step for me, how to learn to leave my comfort zone and just to take on new things. And what helped me with this was that I arrived alone in Nairobi, but in the first 2 months I felt like I was growing, like I lived a year in these 2 months, because I was out all the time for events. I was always, when I was younger, a much shyer person. I couldn't speak to strangers. And at this time I learned how to just approach people everywhere. Even when I was trying to make my research and working in different kinds of cafes, I saw someone who I was like interested in and I heard some of the things he said on the phone or whatever, or he just gave me a vibe where I was like, okay, this person looks like they know something and they do some things. I just started approaching these people. And this is something I could never imagine doing myself like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Just talking to a random stranger in a random cafe and just asking straight up questions like, hey, I just started with my own things, just moved here to Kenya. What are you doing here? Like, what is your business? Like, how did you get to the point where you are right now? And just by stepping out of my comfort zone, like this extreme, I understood how easy it is to talk to people. And this is something I said, just to give you another example, when I was going to school, I hated to present things in front of the class. I was really shy. I was like not really confident in myself. This is something that completely changed my life and how I approach things now. Because at this point now, when I understood how easy it is to talk to people and that they are ready to give you the knowledge if you just simply ask and are actually interested and genuine in the things you want to know from them, and you're also giving them value back in exchange, people will support you at all the times, especially if you're a young person. And this still is the case when you're like older, of course, because I met also quite a few older people that approached me and were just started talking to me, and like we're having like hours long deep conversation about different kinds of things, about life, about business, about whatever it is, and we're exchanging experiences. Just by stepping out of your comfort zone, you will see how life will change. And don't be okay with the things and like say that this is something I usually don't do, this is something I never did before because of this and this and this. In the end of the day, it just matters what kind of actions you are taking now. If you're changing your behavior now, in another week, in 1 more month, in 3 more months, you will not say the same thing about yourself again and say, I'm usually a shy person, so I don't want to speak to random people. If you just do it today, if you do it tomorrow, your behavior will change and the perception you have of yourself will change completely as well. And this is what happened to me. Another way of how I changed and developed myself personally through being here in Kenya and making this move like abroad as a young person was just that I understand that I can do whatever I want to. Because back then I had my visions, I had my goals, but I was not really sure like how I will achieve them, how I can make a lot of money, how I can just get to the point where I feel myself much more and be more confident and just be a little bit of a change in this world. But now I understood that it's just by being in a different place and like trying to just trust your own gut and follow the things you actually want to do, things can change a lot. Just for instance, what I told you earlier, I said I didn't go to university. I see a lot of my friends still are going to university, and this is now after like 3 or 4 years after I've been already traveling around the world. Since I've been venturing into my businesses, since I moved to 2 different countries in this time frame, and they're still in uni. What is completely okay. If this is something people are okay with, this is totally fine. But just what I learned for myself, what I see myself, I would always go the same path and just be like, okay, let me just get experience. Let me learn as much as I can from as many people as I can. And now at this point, when I understood how things actually work and people want to share knowledge with you, if you're really genuine and interested, I see also another change of perspective in me. There was a time when I was staying in the States, and in the States it's more like a mentality that you need to get a mentor to do something and to like achieve something because you can learn from this person, what is completely understandable. What I was also looking for in the time I was living there. But what I understood since I live here and like started talking to all these different random people I never met before, I understood that each of them can be my mentor for something, because all of them have very different experiences. All of them went through challenges. All of them had also problems along the way to get where they are today. And the more different perspectives I receive from all these people, the more I could look at my own things differently and understood that the only way to do things right for myself is just by soaking in all these different perspectives, learn from the ones that are more experienced than I was, and just to build my own reality with this. And this is what I did. I started learning from them. I started to implement the things I learned and like looked, how can I make use of this for myself? In what kind of situation am I in right now? And how can I make the best and the most out of these different kinds of perspective I receive from people from all over the world already. And there's another way I changed personally through living here, is that I approach life and opportunities very much differently. I understood now to say no to things that don't serve my own purpose, that don't serve my own values. But I also understood that I can venture into every single business I want to do if I really want to do it. It's just by also meeting these people, having different conversations and trying different things here out on the continent. For instance, I did like for a while, I did e-commerce here, tried to do some import and export businesses, and then now I'm focused more on the marketing and business consulting side and like helping different kinds of startups to grow their own businesses. I understood that like just by the willpower I have, I can do everything and anything I want to if I really am focused on doing these things. I approach things with a very different perspective. When I was younger, I was also seeing things like, this sounds very difficult for me. This is something I'm not sure if I could do it. But now whatever I want to do, I'm aware of that I can simply do it if I really put my energy towards these things and make things happen, make things work. So all of these things are just my personal lessons I made after moving abroad, and in this case after moving to Kenya. So all of these things combined are just to say how much I changed as a person in a good way, just by leaving my comfort zone and doing things I was thinking of that I'm not this kind of person. I was just simply taking actions, doing the things I never did before, stepping out of my comfort zone as many times as possible. And all of these things brought me to the destination where I am right now. And I'm actually very, very much excited to see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, just to see my personal growth on this journey. And I'm pretty sure that these things that I did, you can also do yourself if you just are ready to leave your comfort zone and be like, do every single day something you would never do. If it's talking to a stranger, if it's actually venturing into the business you are thinking of for the past couple of months or years even, pursuing a different career path than university, if it's whatever it is, just step out of your comfort zone and don't do the things that serve other people. Do the things that serve you and only yourself. This is what will have a big impact on your future life, because then you can just like act on the things that your gut is telling you and not on the things that your mind and other people are telling you all the time. So you can change your life in your own way, and you can maybe make a move to the African continent, make the move to Kenya, start the business you want to start, and inspire more and more people. And the last thing I would like to say is just that if someone would have asked me if I would go the same way again, I would 100 times say yes. Even if I had more struggles with my own path of life than people who stayed in Germany and like are pursuing the things they do over there in the country, I think the ups and downs, they taught me more than anything else I could have learned in the time when I was living there. So I would definitely do it over again. Would recommend my younger self to go the same path, just to step out of your comfort zone and become the person you actually like can look back at and be like, wow, I'm proud of myself of doing all of these things. And I hope this video inspires you to do the same thing for yourself in whatever area it is you want to improve and you want to do your own things in. And I see you in the next video.